What's going on, guys? 4 or 5 Reasons Sports. This is Kai Chen Chisholm, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of a different video. We're going to be talking about the CDL and more specifically the Huntsmen slash OpTic Gaming LA. I don't want to say it in a bad way, but this one's really interesting because it involves one of the main kind of guys. It should kind of really involve two main guys of Call of Duty history in Hecz, who's the now co-owner and CEO of NRG, which is the organization that owns the Chicago Huntsmen that are in the CDL. That's the COD league that is their franchise from Activision Blizzard, and they'll be competing in their second season in 2021. No other teams have opened, but now they're going to 4v4 instead of 5v5, which is good. It's the traditional 4v4. Of course, some people had to get cut. Roster mania has been interesting. Hecz has recently, according to reports, repurchased the IP, the intellectual property of OpTic Gaming, which for anyone who's into the COD scene, anyone who's really into like the gaming scene at all, would know that Hecz previously was the owner slash founder in a way, him with a bunch of other people, but he's really OpTic Gaming. Everyone knows him as OpTic Hecz. You know, they know people like Scump, who plays for Huntsman, as OpTic Scump, like OpTic Scumpy. You know, it's those situations. He is known as OpTic Gaming. He is OpTic. When everything was happening between him and Immortals, who previously purchased the team after he had sold it to Infinite, and then Infinite sold it to Immortals, the intellectual property and everything along those lines, and then he left OpTic Gaming. I believe when he sold it to Infinite, he sold a majority of the stock, so I would assume probably 51% to 49%, so he still owned, I believe, 49% of the business, but he left, he got out. Now it's being reported that he's repurchased the intellectual property for OpTic Gaming, which also includes that CDL spot that OpTic Gaming LA has. You know, I believe this was the Esports Tribune or an Esports Report. I can't remember exactly who it came out from, but it'll be up on the screen as I'm talking right now, and you guys will be able to see it, and a link will be down below in the description. But what the interesting part about this all is what happens to that CDL spot? What happens? Hecz has to, I guess, he can't own both interests. He can't have an interest and an ownership in the Chicago Huntsmen, and he can't own another CDL spot for OpTic Gaming LA. So we think there's two kind of solutions that I think a lot of fans have gotten down to, and some of them make sense, although one of them that I think makes a lot of sense would have to be broken down a little bit, which is a little bit unfortunate to some fans. One major name and one major esports organization has become one of the main topics and main focal points of all of this conversation, that being 100 Thieves and Nadeshot. Nadeshot, of course, another name. You hear Nadeshot and now you think of 100 Thieves. Before you heard Nadeshot, you thought of OpTic Nadeshot. You thought of the HBR memes that everyone makes about him from COD Champs. You thought about him winning the X Games gold medal, the first ever in esports. But when he was a part of the CDL last season, when it was the CWL, the COD World League, he made an announcement on August 29, 2019, and something will come up onto the screen now. It's of him talking about how he wasn't going to have a CDL spot. 100 Thieves was not going to purchase a spot because of how expensive it was.
Fact of the matter is, the CDL is incredibly expensive. It's so expensive. And not only are there a lot of upfront costs, but there are a ton of operational costs that we'll be spending money on and resources on for years. And we are just not equipped and not prepared to make that jump and to make that decision to be all in. We just can't be.
And a lot of disagreements with how it was being run. You know, before it was everything that you were going to do would have to be branded and approved by the CDL, so you wouldn't really run as your own.
And then we have our apparel business, which is really what this company was founded upon and something that I'm truly passionate about. And I know a lot of people at our company are too. And so we have so many different investments and so much time and so many resources that need to be invested into these things, that for us to make such a costly investment into Call of Duty would possibly jeopardize really everything that this company has been building.
Asset, and you'd have to have certain things that get approved by the CDL first, approved by the franchising first. Merch would have to go through the CDL, Activision Blizzard. It wouldn't just be through your own, which we saw because there was merch being released and then everything got scrapped and things came back to just how the CDL wanted everything to be produced. And League of Legends, before he went into COD, before he went into League of Legends, everything like that, it was really a merch line. It was a clothing brand. 100 Thieves clothing was the thing. Then they went into, League of Legends. Then they went into COD with the CWL. But there was rumors, would they purchase a CDL? They were second in COD champs in 2019. They won back-to-back championships in 2019. He had, purchased Kenny off of TK, Pharaoh off of TK from the previous season in 2018. He had Slasher. He had, I believe, Octane. He had Priesta, who was on loan from FaZe. So there were a lot of situations where in that 5v5, in those moments, what was going to happen with the players? They all went on to their own journeys. They did their own things. But what was going to happen with 100 Thieves? So why does that relate so directly with Hecz? Not just because they're friends, not just because at one point he was supposed to be a co-owner of OpTic and things fell through. It all leads back to, will Hecz sell this CDL spot, if all reports are true, to Nadeshot? Would Nadeshot and 100 Thieves acquire this? And if they do, would it make sense? A lot of the things that Nade put into his video was, it's too expensive, the branding would be issues, and on top of that, he wasn't ready to find a home for 100 Thieves. Well, now with their Cash App compound in LA, the fact that a majority of their creators live in LA, they have their content creation house as well in LA for the 100 Thieves people that live there, and some of their content creators, with how big they've grown everything in LA, with one of the two LA spots, the other one being the LA Gorillas, being open, does Nadeshot decide to make does he make a deal with Hecz? He can't just cut him a hot deal, like maybe 2.5 mil, something like that. Everything has to be approved by the CDL, so it can't just happen. But if everything's true, with the pending approval of the sale of the intellectual property going to Hecz, that's going to be done on its own. But the CDL spot going to Hecz, he would have to then say, okay, I'm going to sell this spot. There's a bunch of companies that are interested. Of course, they didn't expand because of everything that happened with Corona. So again, it comes down to, does he sell it to 100 Thieves and Nadeshot? And then if that happens, what does that mean for the players currently on OpTic Gaming LA? Guys like Kenny, do they get released? Are their contracts sold to other teams? What will this mean for roster mania? It makes everything right now in the CDL, it makes it more interesting again. A lot of the things that happened in the previous season of COD, and even dating back to 2018, in 2018, TK, also known as Team Caliber, was one of the most successful COD teams. They were runners-up at COD champs that season. They had won a bunch of championships. It was unexpected. It was the underdog story. Guys like Dylan, Theory, Kenny, Pharaoh, Enable, guys that are now on other teams and doing other things. Dylan, Theory, I think, is retired. Kenny's on OpTic Gaming. Enable, I believe, retired. And Pharaoh is a part of the Florida Mutineers here, owned by the Miami Heat. So, or the Miami Heat Corporation in a way, like, you get what I mean. Everything is more interesting, going back to what I said. Everything is more interesting when OpTic is big in COD, because they're FaZe, they have the montages, they do everything like that. They're a huge brand. But OpTic Gaming and Call of Duty go together perfectly. It's literally like the chef's kiss, right? They are so tied together that when OpTic is good and when OpTic's doing good, you see it in the ratings. 100,000 people can just instantly get into a live stream on YouTube for the CDL like that, just because OpTic was playing. And it died down because of how everything went down with Hecz and Immortals and Infinite. So with all of that being said, if this is true and he has that spot, one, that's great for OpTic, because now OpTic is going to have a resurgence and they're going to be back into the scene and just content creation. Maybe COD, maybe the OpTic name goes into Chicago Huntsmen. They have all these people that are super dedicated to 100 Thieves. They have super dedicated fans. All of that's going to push to the CDL because it's what happened before. So to wrap it all up into a nice little present here, when OpTic is doing good and OpTic is popular, it's great for COD. And bringing 100 Thieves and Nadeshot, it makes it even better. Guys, thank you so much for the support on some of the videos that we've been posting up here. Thank you for the support on the YouTube stuff. The Heat are not out of it. Don't worry. The game tonight will hopefully be something good for the Heat and for everyone else. I hope you like a little bit of the change in the background. I'm going to continue to change things. It gets a little bit hot in this room. That's why I've been going like this. But, got my Dolphins flag. I'm a Gators fan, so have that up. Some of my Bayern jerseys up, as well as a Zlatan Ibrahimovic jersey from when he played for Inter Milan. So, again, this has been Kai Chen Chisholm. Thank you guys so much. Follow me on Twitter, link down below in the description. The link to the article talking about Hecz rebuying the intellectual property of OpTic Gaming is also down below in the description. And I will see you guys next time.